You can learn everything you want to learn about human behavior studying primates. They generate brain chemicals the same way we do. The only thing they don't have is language. The motivators for the brain, there are 5 main chemicals.
Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin,
And
cortisol. You're hitting all 3 parts of the brain
Right.
by hitting all 5.
But I've only been hitting 3.
But now
I do it differently. So what's the cortisol sandwich? You lead with a slightly negative lead, not directed to them. Here's why. If you overdo this, by the way, you'll screw your offer up. Welcome back to the Trainwreck Show. I've been taking a few steroids. My name is Perry Belcher. I'll be your host today, your illustrious host, the unstoppable force of marketing, here with the immovable object lump, some might say, that is
lump sum of money that I've made you, motherfucker.
Emma Rainville, the Wizard of Ops. And welcome back to the show today. If you're not familiar with the Trainwreck Show, you're probably better off.
Just go ahead and click end now. Stop.
Be sure to hit the
Get me outta
unsubscribe button below this
Hell
video
my
right now.
I imagine when people
Hey, be sure to smash that thumbs down button and hit the unsubscribe before leaving today.
I feel like people who just come across this because of tags are like, what the fuck did I just listen to? What did I just listen to?
I'm dumber for having listened to this.
I don't think that anybody thinks that, but they definitely think, what the hell did I just listen to? All right, today, guys, we're going to be talking about something pretty cool, pretty interesting. Cortisol Sandwich.
Yeah, the Cortisol Sandwich. So this is kind of I did a talk in 2015 for TNC.
It's just 10 years ago.
And it was called Monkeys and Politicians.
Is that when you still owned it?
Yeah.
50, when did you sell it? 19?
18. It was called Monkeys and Politicians. And it was all about primate behavior and political movements and how closely the way they train primates is the way that politicians train people to vote for them. It was a really good talk. And that's what got me into brain chemistry. And I learned all about brain chemistry from a book, Loretta Bruning's book called Meet Your Happy Brain Chemicals. Loretta Bruning is a primatist, so she works with apes, chimpanzees, and orangutans. And brilliant lady, by the way. And you can learn everything you want to learn about human behavior studying primates, because primates are basically a precursor to humans. They generate brain chemicals the same way we do. The only thing they don't have that we have is language. They don't have a language to communicate with, but so they're still more primitive. But if you learn what motivates them, you'll learn what actually motivates humans, because we're still mostly motivated by this little brain in the back of our head called the reptilian brain, and the middle brain called the limbic brain. There's 3 brains inside your head. There's the reptilian brain, the limbic brain, and the neocortex, and they all serve different purposes. And that's basically where the cortisol sandwich comes in. So I learned this years ago, and I learned that the motivators for the brain, there are 4 main chemicals, really 5 main chemicals that get produced in the brain based on a reaction from this little reptilian brain in the back. So the reptilian brain in the back of your head is 500 million years old. It's responsible for you breathing, blinking.
You know how many Christians are going to write in that that's not how old
your heart beating. It's true. Cinderella waved a wand and boof, we were all here. So that could be true too. I'm not saying it's not. So we developed this little brain back here, approximately 500 million years old, if you believe scientists. And who knows if they're right or not, because who the hell could really know that? No shit. Who knows? Maybe it was immaculate conception. I don't know. Either way.
Or maybe if you study the earth and,
Maybe, but I don't know. How the hell do you know what happened 500 million years ago or anybody else for that matter? So
that's fair.
Yeah. So
that's for another show.
Yeah. And then you got the limbic brain, which is in between. And this little brain back here, it wants everything. It wants to survive and reproduce. So it keeps our heart beating and all those things, all our functions working in hopes that we will reproduce. That's its only job. That's the reason sex is always such a motivator in anything you do, because it's hardwired in us to mate. Otherwise, none of us would ever get married because it's stupid. Now, 2, you got this thing called the limbic brain. The limbic brain, Limbic. The limbic brain is the brain that stores memories. If we were computers, the limbic brain would be our hard drive. It stores all of our memories, emotions, and it also produces brain chemicals called peptides. Now peptides are all the rage. People are shooting peptides, right? You produce peptides. Your brain, remember Nancy Reagan, this is your brain on drugs. We just produce the drugs inside our brains, right? The limbic brain produces drugs based on the anticipation of things happening. And the four main drugs that it produces are dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and cortisol. And one more called norepinephrine. Norepinephrine is adrenaline. It's what most people call adrenaline.
So I'm sorry, that's 5.
It is 5. But I only really studied
So dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin,
and
cortisol,
and norepinephrine. So norepinephrine, I'll start there. I'll start with norepinephrine. Norepinephrine is adrenaline. And people think of adrenaline as like that thing, right? It's not always that strong a reaction. What norepinephrine does, it's how we pay attention to things. If the caveman were walking through the jungle and a twig was broken behind a rock and it heard it snap, all of a sudden they would be very alert because that might be something coming to kill them. It's the unknown. The thing that drives adrenaline the most is the unknown. When you're on a roller coaster, right? When you're on a roller coaster or a thrill ride at an amusement park, their job is to stimulate norepinephrine, right? And you're always going, you ever notice it? Click, 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 click.
and then
click,
it stops
click,
for
click.
a second.
And then it stops and then you go down. Right before it stops, that's when your norepinephrine will be the highest.
It's also why you're never as scared as the first time.
And once you're going down the hill, the norepinephrine is actually dropping off. It lasts milliseconds, but its job is to make you alert to danger, right? So that's its job. The next thing is dopamine. Dopamine is the thing that goes off in your brain, the chemical that's produced when you think something good's about to happen to you, right? Right before your first kiss with somebody, right before you have an orgasm.
When I click done, complete on a ClickUp task.
Right before you get hired for a new job, whatever the case may be, something that you feel like something good's about to happen to you, norepinephrine will go off. When you're cutting the piece of a delicious looking apple pie, right? Or anything that where joy is coming your way, again, it's in anticipation of that happening. It's not it happening, it's in anticipation of it. Serotonin, you hear people talk about drugs all the time, serotonin uptake inhibitors and things like that for serotonin for drugs like Paxil and things like that. Serotonin, by the way, number one drug to stimulate dopamine, cocaine. Your brain floods with dopamine if you do cocaine. It absolutely.
We are not saying to do cocaine. There's fentanyl in cocaine now. You should not do cocaine.
Before though, it was great. Before there was fentanyl, it was also. I don't know.
It did help you get drunk all night.
I've never used cocaine before. My friend had used it and told me how it was, and I never liked it. I just like the way it smells.
Right.
So
I personally like the way it tastes.
yeah. Secondly, you lick in the bag. Not that I've ever done that either.
We don't do drugs. We're kidding.
Yeah, I don't anymore.
Well, you don't do drugs you can't chew.
I don't do drugs I can't chew anymore. Yeah. And then Grandpa would die with cocaine today. But serotonin is a slightly different drug. It's a drug that's released based on the anticipation of your status being increased. So this is the drug that goes off in your brain when you get a like on Facebook or a like on YouTube, or you're given an award, or you're admired for something, or you're given recognition about something. Anything that upgrades your status. If you're going out with a better looking girl on your arm than you deserve, if you're going out with a better looking guy on your arm than you deserve, if you just bought a new car and you feel like people are looking at you going, wow, they must be important. Anytime you feel like your status amongst your peers is being risen, serotonin's going to go off. But again, in anticipation, if you won the Academy Award for Best Actor and you got called on stage, your serotonin would rush. By the time you got to the microphone, it would already be falling off. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And then there's oxytocin. These are all three positive drugs. I call norepinephrine, I think, is a neutral brain drug. It's just a snap. It just draws attention. Then you have the ability to put these three positive drugs in place. And the third positive drug is oxytocin. Oxytocin is the love drug. This is the drug that when you feel loved, when you feel a sense of belonging, when you feel like you're in your tribe, this drug goes off. It's also the drug of safety, right? It makes you feel safe. It makes you feel loved. It makes you feel good. A good example of it, again, it's an anticipation of that feeling, right? So like in Thanksgiving, when you're inviting everybody over, I just love the holidays. I just can't wait for the holidays. And you're so jolly and you're dancing around. They have the Christmas spirit or the holiday spirit. And you have that up until about an hour after everybody gets to your house.
I generally get on a plane and get away because I know that.
And then as soon as everybody gets to your house, you just can't wait for everybody to leave, right? It's the anticipation of that. The last drug is the most misunderstood drug, and it was misunderstood by me. I thought I understood it a couple of years ago, and I started using it, and now I realize I wasn't using it masterfully. And it really takes front and center in today's marketing world, and that's cortisol. Cortisol is the drug that's released in your brain in the anticipation of something bad happening, particularly exile and or separation. So when you were a caveman, being exiled from the tribe meant almost surely death. So people have a tremendous fear of isolation.
This is actually something that gets tested a lot, particularly people between 40 and 60, to see where your stress levels are.
Yeah. Yeah. Cortisol is a stress response drug.
Right.
Anytime you're stressed, you have a high degree of cortisol, generally speaking. If you don't have enough cortisol in your body, that's also a dangerous thing.
Yeah, because you're way too...
You're loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
You don't have any consequences.
I feel like you don't have enough cortisol.
Right. So I probably don't have enough cortisol. So
I think I'm overloaded and you don't have enough.
I can tell you 7 reasons why that won't work, and you haven't even told me what it is yet. That's Emma Rainfield imitation.
I can tell you how to spend every dollar you have and never make any money. That's Perry Belcher.
So, but cortisol is anticipation of something bad happening. It's also hugely driven by separation. If we didn't have cortisol in our brains, mothers of human children will just drop them out and keep on walking. Men and women at a much higher level have cortisol separation. It's the reason when a guy breaks up with a girl, the girl is always way more devastated when the girl breaks up with the guy, usually. Not always, but usually. Separation is a much more serious offense to women than it is to men, but it is to men too. I heard a quote not long ago that I really took to heart. A guy said, people don't mind being used, but they can't stand being discarded.
Right.
And when you discard someone or you dismiss someone or you go, oh, you may leave now. There's nothing more.
The best thing that you can say to someone is, I don't even think about you.
I don't think about you. I watched that in a John Hamm in, says, you know what? I sit around at night and I think about how you do this and you do this and you do this and your life must be miserable.
You know what? I don't even think about you.
I never think about you at all. Funny. He says, funny. I never think of you at all.
I haven't seen that, but
great.
it's such a great, I was thinking about this and I was thinking about that and I was thinking about that. I use that on Gabe.
Yeah.
I use it on Gabe all the time.
Yeah.
He'll be like, you know what I was just thinking about? And he'll run his mouth about something horrible, something I forgot. It's my favorite thing. Funny. Unless you're yapping in my face, I don't ever think about you.
He probably lucky you. So
lucky him.
We interrupt this pod to bring you this really special announcement. You need to go right now. Well, maybe do they want to go right now? Want to stop?
No, at the end. We don't want to have them stop.
Go to trainwreckshow.com. There's lots of bots there, GPT bots that do things for you, that do a lot of your work. So you don't have to work so much and drink more beer. The episode archives are over there. There's all of our resources, worksheets, workbooks. Everything that we've done that we give away is over there. Go get it right now. There's a lot of resources there. Way more resources than you get when you buy a lot of communities, I think.
And don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can catch every episode as soon as it hits. We'll send you a notification.
It doesn't mean you're liking Emma, by the way, because I know that slows us down on our likes. You can just click and say, I like Perry. You don't have to like Emma. It works the same way. So cortisol. So I didn't use cortisol at all. When I learned about brain chemistry, I didn't even really use norepinephrine other than with a grabber every now and then. And I learned a little bit about pattern interrupts. If you study neurolinguistic programming, pattern interrupts are what you use to stimulate norepinephrine. So basically, we all have pattern recognition. It's one of the things humans have that other animals generally don't have. We can recognize patterns. When something is out of place, when a word is misspelled, when a picture is set crooked, when we immediately notice these things that don't make sense, right? Purple Cow was the book by Seth Godin that talked about it. It's what makes you really stand out, right? Yeah. So I didn't really even use that much. What I figured was that I know the 3 things that make people happy. Now I just have to talk about those 3 things that make people happy, and I'll be able to sell a lot more. And it was true. I was able to. So in a lot of our offers, like when I invented the tripwire offer, it's like, hey, get this cool thing for free. That stimulates dopamine.
You mean it wasn't invented by someone who was born in 1998?
Probably not. So that was get something free. Normally, things that stimulate dopamine are what we typically call impulse purchases, right? It's a little something, no risk, easy, right? And then I was like, okay, so I got that. Now I'll invite those people to join a club. I'll invite them to join an association like the American Gun Association. Like, hey, you want this free I love guns more than my wife's shirt? Great. You must be a gun lover. So I give them the shirt, and then
Which is a symbol.
It's a symbol, and that stimulates, it's a tribal symbol, and that stimulates that
Sense of belonging, which is the dopamine.
chemical.
Yeah.
And then I'll invite them, since I know they want to be in that club now. I'll say, hey, wouldn't you like to be in the American Gun Association? Which about 40% of them will buy, because I already know they wanted that.
And that hits their oxytocin.
Right. And then I'll say, do you want to be a VIP lifetime member with voting rights? Because guess what?
Now I got status.
Now
and
I got
serotonin.
status.
Serotonin,
Right.
yeah.
So
you're hitting all three parts of the brain
I'm
and
stacking all three together. Right?
Well, you're hitting all three parts of the brain
Right.
by hitting all five.
And I've only been hitting 3.
But now
I do it differently. I'll tell you my first development, and then I'll tell you the rest. Those 3 masterful offers. If you find master copywriters, almost every masterful offer will have those 3 elements in it. Almost every one. Down to the point of, you guys used to sell a t-shirt that made your stuff go crazy.
we gave it away when they hit their goal from buying the stuff.
We did it with Beachbody. I used to work with the company Beachbody, and they had a shirt that said "I earned it," where you wore once you got into your best shape. Anywho, so I only hit those 3 chemicals. And I thought I was brilliant for doing that. And my stuff did sell a lot better than most everybody who doesn't know any of this stuff, right? Then I realized that at the end, I could use cortisol. And what I didn't realize until recently, I would use cortisol to future cast what life was going to be like if they didn't buy my thing. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So at the end, you're going negative. You're saying, now, you've seen these in offers, like, right? So 6 months from now, you're going to remember this as a pivotal moment in your life, and you will have went one or two directions. You will either continue to do the same thing you've been doing and expect a different result. That's the definition of insanity. Or you'll go this new direction and be a lot happier. But if you choose to go the original direction and your life sucks and your wife leaves you and your dog dies and everything goes bad, don't say I didn't warn you, right? So you're using cortisol. You're raising cortisol. One of the easiest ways to raise cortisol, by the way, is remind people of a previous experience. I saw a sales letter somebody else wrote, I wish it was mine, the other day, and at the end of the thing, it said, do you remember when your friend told you to buy Bitcoin when it was $55 and you ignored them?
I've read that one.
Right.
That is such a good one.
When you do that, you're using nostalgia to stimulate an internal lesson in someone's brain, and cortisol floods. And we make decisions only when we have to.
Most people, absolutely true.
When you run a product launch for anything, people will buy on the last day of the launch. We're selling an event right now. We have the Growth Hacking Live event coming up in San Diego in September. And I promise you, we'll sell most of the tickets in September.
Yeah.
You'll sell a few in
the 3 weeks leading up to the event. We'll sell more tickets than the 6 freaking months
before
that we've
people
been selling
wait till
before.
the last minute, and people will wait, and now
They don't want to. People don't want to commit.
Yeah, they'll pay more because committing's not fun. What benefit do they get out of committing? They don't.
The money saved. The tickets are cheaper. The rooms are cheaper. The flights are cheaper. They would rather spend more money. Yeah. It's crazy to me. Anyway,
so people don't make a decision until they have to. So you have to draw that. You have to tell them what they're losing. Another great way. At the end, you always hear people talk about scarcity. So they're going to raise the price, take away the bonuses. All those things work, but they're sort of artificial, and people know it now. The thing that works the most is doing a calculation. Look, if you got this widget today, and it only made your business $100 more, 30 days from now, you'd have $3,000. But if you wait a year and you decide then it's time and you're going to come back, you will have already lost $36,500 waiting a year, 365 days times $100. You have lost $36,500 just by waiting. That's the waiting penalty. That's the stupid tax, right? And if you can lay it out to people that way and you stimulate cortisol, there you will sell more. You will make more sales. You can't go over the top and be insulting. It's best to do it with some degree of subtlety, right? But be firm. Now, the cortisol sandwich. So what's the cortisol sandwich? The cortisol sandwich I finally figured out after working with the Agora companies. You lead with a negative lead, but only slightly negative and not directed to them. Here's why. If you grab their attention and you lead with a little bit of cortisol, if you overdo this, by the way, you'll screw your offer up. If you say, hey, you're stupid if you don't do this, or if you're not buying gold, you're dumb. You can't do that. If you do that, you're going to spike their cortisol and they're going to be hurt. So they're just going to leave. But what you want to do is give them a slight nudge, a cortisol nudge, I call it, a cortisol bump right at the beginning of
Not to be confused with the bumps Perry was doing in the 70s.
a message, right? A message. I could never do the bump with my ass because I have no ass, so I could only do the other bump. But
on a key.
Yeah, if you can say something that subtly reminds them, like even that line I used before. If I were doing a financial thing, I could say, "Hey, remember when somebody told you to buy Bitcoin at $55 and you ignored it?"
That's not coming out and directly.
Not too heavy,
right?
Right.
But
So
it certainly is going to spike.
It's going to spike a little bit of cortisol, and then I'm going to say immediately, I'm going to go to dopamine. I got great news for you. There's another opportunity just as big as that one happening right now. Let me tell you what it is.
Beautiful.
Right? So now so what you've done by doing that, there's a new opportunity that maybe
you alleviated pain. Let's understand that for a moment. By spiking the cortisol level, you created pain.
Yeah.
And then by solving that spike,
you've delivered some value in a way.
You delivered value by numbing the pain.
Right. And the other thing that's really impactful by this is that by doing that, you also stand out in the offer world. Because everyone else's offers are, let me tell you about the sunshine and rainbows I'm about to sell you. In today's market, people are tuned out to that. Their norepinephrine, you said something earlier that's a big deal. The second time you ride a roller coaster, it's never as thrilling. Everybody's norepinephrine, everybody's trying to shock people into paying attention to whatever they have. Everybody's norepinephrine is overstimulated. So when everything stimulates norepinephrine, nothing stimulates norepinephrine.
Marketers ruin everything. Some marketer figured it out. Yeah. Then all the other marketers saw it, and then marketers ruin everything. So now it doesn't work anymore.
So now you got 1,000 offers leading with norepinephrine and dopamine, and you're the one out of 1,000 leading with cortisol. You're going to win just by being different. And you're also going to win by being more honest.
Right.
80% of the people that read this sales letter will do nothing and make nothing. I got a friend of mine that Hubert Centers. I love him to death. He's country boy options trader. He trades gold futures. And man, talks like this right here, man. He's from Cordell, Kentucky. Man, let me tell you right now what I'm going to do. We're going to get in here today. I'm going to teach y'all to trade some futures. Now, hey, before we get started, let me tell y'all right now, okay? Most of y'all going to lose all your money trading futures. That's just the way it is. 95% of people trade futures long enough, they lose all their money. Now, I'll tell you this, though. 5% of people don't. And that 95% of money gets lost.
Goes to the 5% who didn't lose.
Goes to 5% who didn't lose. But I'm going to tell you right now, your odds of losing all your money
are
if
pretty
you're
high.
An ordinary trader are almost certain. Now, let's get started. Nobody leaves.
Why?
They believe they're the one.
Everybody thinks they're the 1%er.
And
in this case, 5. But
and he's the most honest guy they've ever heard.
Yeah.
He's the guy that's going to shoot straight with them. He's the guy that's going to tell them what.
And if they listen to him, they have a better chance.
Really stands out, and I think that's I've said before, like, about one of my favorite words in the English language when writing copy is the word ordinary. Ordinary people are going to take this information, do nothing. Ordinary people watching this podcast are going to do nothing
with it.
With what you just learned, right?
One person took a shit ton of notes.
Right. And you know what that makes you? Extraordinary. Extraordinary, right? But most people are not extraordinary, even though a lot of people think they are.
Right.
They have undeserved, what they call it, undeserving sense of overconfidence. There's a better way to say that. I can't think of the way they say it. But anyway, I hope that was good for you. Thanks a lot for being on Trade. Anything else, Emma, before we sign off?
No, this is really, really good. I really like this one. I enjoyed this one a lot. I just to kind of sum it up, speak to all 3 parts of the brain.
Yep.
And stimulate all 5 chemicals to create a masterful offer.
The most masterful offers will stimulate all 5 and create tribal belonging.
Yeah, this is amazing. On the next episode of Trainwreck, we're going to talk about trauma bonding.
Are we now?
No, www.trainwreckshow.com. We've got tons of freebies.
About soaking.
Tons of freebies, GPTs, custom GPTs, and other stuff. Can't think of anything right now because now all I can think about is Perry soaking. Appreciate you, Perry. This was a good one.
If you don't know what soaking is, or maybe look it up.
An Urban Dictionary.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
See ya.